Well, it's a nice rainy afternoon. It's flooding everywhere. Of course, we're sitting on the side of a hill, so floods are not our issue. But there's water coming down like nobody's business. And we're going to continue with our project here. And where we left off is we cut this piece here and we laid out our collar. And it turns out that the collar sits out about a ½ an inch beyond the surface of the plate, and I don't like that. I mean, it'll work just fine. It just doesn't look that good. So I think what I want to do is I want to build a new collar and swing it out that extra ½ inch, and then recut my holes and go from there. So we ordered another piece of material. Where is that piece of material? Here it is. We're going to replace it with this here, which will hang out that extra ½ inch and give us a more of a visual effect of where we want to go. And I think this time what I'll do is go ahead and cut my slot first and the hole, and then I know where I'm at, and then adjust that to the plate and then drill my holes. So what we're going to do is reset our basic hole, and I think we could probably just transfer punch that through without too much trouble. Yeah, let's just see what we can do. We'll take the awl, we'll scribe that. We're going to mark, measure, let's measure from the edge here to our center hole, and lock that down and go ahead and scribe that, and that goes from here to here. And we'll come up with a square. We're going to, that's our, not quite our center hole because we have to center it with the, so we've got what, 6 5/16, so 1, 2, 3 and 5/32, 2, 4, 5. And 5/32. And there is our center. Yep. So now basically we're going to drill a hole in this, and then we're going to bore it out to, looks like about 2 inches. And we'll be back. We're going to go over to the mill. Okay, this is going to be the first use of our new shell mill that I just bought here some time ago. Well, about a week ago, I think. So we're just going to come across and face off these edges. still haven't got my power feed hooked up. Those kinds of things take time around here. There we go. Nice clean edge. Pop it out, flip it over, but before we flip it over, I got to go in and just kiss this rough edge, because there's a sharp edge that's coming out over that, and that may get in the way of the vise. So I'll be back. All right, let's come back across and make another cut. We'll just do, I don't know, 5/10 thousandths, no big deal. All right, break it loose, spin it. Bring it up on top here. Now, the one thing we have to do is we have to make sure that we've got square edges here. So I'm going to bring a indicator in, and we'll indicate this edge and just get it fairly close. Within a couple of 2 or 3 thousandths is plenty. Just as long as I'm not, you know, 1/8 of an inch off. There we go. And then just bring my quill up and down. Can you see that? Well, let's get it down so you can. And then just bring my quill up and down. Make sure we're someplace in. We're not. I don't know, that's pretty good. That's just drag. Let's get this all the way as much far down as we can get it. Okay. Make sure that we're riding up against it. We're sitting on a couple of thousandths. Let's see if we can straighten that out just a little bit. That looks pretty good. And because I didn't want to reset my vise, it's all squared up on the table, I set this piece on top of the vise, open the vise all the way, of course it doesn't fit, set it on top of the vise, squared it up with my leading edge here, and built some pretty tall toe clamps to hold the thing in place. Now basically what I'm going to do is come in and find center in that hole. And I know it's someplace close to there. And we'll start drilling. And since this hole isn't super accurate, you know, if we were within 1/8 of an inch of where we wanted to be, I would be a happy camper. We'll be more accurate than that, of course, but let's speed this thing up. Let's see if we can speed it up in that low gear. Yeah, that's not too bad. All right, so then we just start on down. Okay, and since that's the biggest drill we have that'll fit my Bridgeport, I have plenty of bigger drills that have Morris tapers on them, but just as if this is it for the Bridgeport, we're going to go ahead and bore this out. Oops, let's turn it off and engage our automatic feed. And let's bring this up as high as we can get it and take the table up. All right, so our head has gotten too far out for it to be, it's gonna, at some point or another, it's gonna bottom out. So we're gonna bring it back in, and then we're gonna move our bit out to the next rung out there. Let's loosen up our Allens. Yeah, that'll do just about right. So now, bring it back out so it just starts to hit. Start it up. Not quite. Okay, I was going to take that hole all the way up to the size of the other, but then I realized, no, we got a 3/4 inch cable going through here. It doesn't have to be that big. And the bigger the hole, the weaker this piece is. So I think I'm going to just stay with 1.5 inch hole. I'm going to come in with a 7/8 bit, mill bit, and cut a groove right through the center of that to give us access for the cable. So let's bring our table over. And down, or up. Lock all our gibs. And we're ready to rock and roll. So this time I think I'm going to go a little bit slower. Okay, maybe not that slow. Something about like that. And since I don't have my power feed hooked up yet, I'm going to sit over here and manually work this thing. Okay, we've got our hole cut, we've got our slot cut, and now what we need to do is put, let's bring this plate over here, is put our bolt holes in the plate itself. And what we're going to do is go ahead and I can just pop this up for right now. Oop, didn't go far enough. But anyhow, we're going to slide this onto here, transfer punch all of these holes into the other plate, and actually no, because they're exactly 1.5 inches, is all we have to do is transfer the first set and then go 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, and so on down the pike there until we get where we want to go. But for now, we've got our slot cut and our slot cut and our hole cut, and that's a positive thing. So I think what we want to do now is come in and just kiss this edge here to make sure that we're totally squared up with this part here and with the bolts. So let's bring it on in and see what we can do about kissing that edge. We'll be back. Okay, so we've got our plate done. We need to attach this collar to the top of this. I've already drilled the one hole to get this thing settled and situated so that it's square and even with the hole under it and so on and so forth. So now basically what we're going to do is come in with a center or a transfer punch, and we got this locked down so it's not going anywhere, and so then I can just transfer punch these two holes here and not have to worry about the thing dancing around as I hit it. So pull that out, remove the collar, we've got our two marks right there, and I'm going to go ahead and just drill those marks out and put the put the collar on, well, semi-permanently. All right, we start with a small hole. Let's see if we can still see here. All right, let's try this again. Put our pilot drill in. Lock it down. And I'm not going for accuracy here because it's a transfer punch. So how can you be accurate? But all we're doing is trying to get that collar in place. So I can go ahead and just, whoops, let's speed this up a little bit. I can go ahead and just drill into my center punch mark. Let's get it a little closer here. There we go. And juice and drill away. Alright, so we got our 3 holes tapped and we're ready to install our collar. Okay, so we've got our collar attached to the support block, but notice, look inside here. Can we see it? You can kind of see it. The hole for the support for the collar is a different size hole than for the support block. So I think what I want to do is I want to go in and bore out this collar, and also at the same time bore out the support block, because the cable is going to be running back and forth in here, and I just don't want anything even vaguely touching. So we're going to drop this down and somehow attach it to something, and then we'll run a boring bar down through here and bore that hole out. So stick with me, we'll be back. Okay, well, it turns out that my boring head, the tool for my boring head just isn't long enough. I mean, if you measure, and I can't go any further down than that, it comes to within about 1/4 inch of the bottom, but it does not go to the bottom. So that is out. And then I kind of danced around using a couple of other tools, like I was thinking about coming in with a fly cutter. Well, that's not going to work either, because of course it can't reach. So the only alternative I have left at this point is to take this thing out, take it over on the big lathe, chuck it up on the forejaw and center that hole, and then bore it out from that point of view. And that's pretty much the only approach I think I can take. So we're going to take this thing back apart. And take this over to the lathe, and we'll be back. Okay, we're up on the forejaw, and we've got it squared up, and we're boring the aluminum at the moment, and eventually we're going to get out to the steel and bore the steel and the aluminum at the same time. But for right now, we're just taking real small 10 thousandths cuts.